No one can make a staple yard of the King's Highway. That's what a judge ruled against a stagecoach driver for leaving horses too long nearby Charing Cross Station in 1812. So 200 years before the first parking ticket ever existed, there was already a law that said the road is not somewhere you can leave your car, or your horse in that case. So jump forward to the late 1950s and there are now 5 million cars on the road, and London is becoming gridlocked. People decided they were going to park wherever they wanted without any consequences, and the government needed to step in. The government said that curbside spaces are valuable and were a commodity that could be sold. And so in 1956, the Road Traffic Act passed. And this basically offered councils the power to charge for on-street parking. And so that's where our story begins, in 1956, where that law was passed and it became standard in the UK to pay for parking. Now you may be thinking, so it's England's fault. It's our fault. No. America did it first. It was in Oklahoma City in 1935 that a lawyer, Carl McGee, was frustrated by all the same cars clogging up all the same spaces without paying a single dime. Is that what money they used back then? And so Carl decided to hire 2 engineers to invent one of the most iconic pieces of machinery ever, the parking meter. And so in the warm summer of 1935, on the 16th of July, the world's very first parking meter was installed. And it is stated that the original goal of the parking meter wasn't necessarily to turn a profit, but was for turnover. They wanted cars to arrive and leave in a timely fashion. You would pay by the hour and then someone else could have the space. So let's go back to the UK. Britain got their first parking meter on the 10th of July 1958, just outside the American Embassy in Mayfair. And during this time, many more parking meters were installed, from the West End all the way to Oxford Street. The original prices were 6p for an hour or a shilling for 2 hours. Now, I wish parking was like that nowadays. And within 5 years, London had 12,000 parking meters. Now, London was making money off these parking meters, yes. But it also introduced a new job, the traffic warden, whose sole job is to ruin your day by giving you a ticket for overstaying your welcome. Sometimes, intentionally, you would leave your car there too long. Other times it was a mistake, but you would still be fined. And in the following years, parking meters spread across the entire UK. Bristol, Newcastle, Southend, Manchester, you name it, they installed parking meters. And that's when parking meters went from being this experimental concept to just being the normal way of life. And the technology within parking meters evolved as well, from going from clockwork meters, which were wound by a physical key, to self-winding meters in the 1970s, and then finally ending up with the electronic meters in the 1990s. And that's where pay and display machines came in, which dominated the market for around 50 years. You would put money in or tap your card and you would get a ticket and you would display it on your car bonnet. On your bonnet? No, the dash, that's it. But everything has their time and pay and display is coming to an end. Now with the introduction of apps taking over. You can now pay on your phone using contactless payments, where a camera would take a picture of your number plate, then you would go into an app, enter your number plate in there, pay for the parking, and then the two systems will be able to check if you've paid. Now, believe it or not, parking illegally used to actually be illegal, a crime. And in 1991, Parliament changed the laws so it was decriminalised, and fines were now not served out by the police, but by local councils. And that's where the ideology of parking being a business rather than a way to serve out a fine really came into fruition. Now local councils had a new way to make money without imposing new taxes. It doesn't feel like a way to manage a car park to stop people exploiting parking. It just feels like a business. It feels like another way someone can make a bit of money out of you. Councils say that the money earned from parking goes to fixing stuff like potholes and running local services like buses or trams or trains. And to be fair, some of it genuinely does. But that still doesn't take away from the fact that some of these prices are extortionate when it comes to parking. In 2012 to 2013, local councils made a record-breaking £594 million. 10 years later, they're making £962 million, with London making £550 million by itself. And from 2024, English councils now make over £1 billion from parking. Now, does it fix traffic? Does it stop people parking on the side of the road in places that they're not meant to? Does it regulate car parks to allow a constant turnover of vehicles to ensure no one is parked there too long? Yes, it does. But at what cost? Well, usually by taking a nice chunk of change out of your wallet every month.